What's going on, Buffalo sports fans? We are back with another episode of Buffalo Sports Banter. I do today have Hunter with me, HLC. He's back. I said last week we had our little 2-week break because both of us were very busy. I was helping my sister move. And then last week, Hunter was out of town, but we did have Jarrett Bailey hop on. If you didn't go check that episode out, really good one. Go check it out. But we got another just absolute banger of an episode for you guys today. Hunter, first off, though, how you doing? How does it feel to be back? Just getting the show going again and talking some Buffalo sports.
Yeah, it feels great. I was actually out in the city of brotherly love there in Philadelphia for a MLS soccer game that between the Union and Philadelphia Union, actually reigning Eastern Conference champions, and New York City FC. I had to side with the Union for that one, as I'm actually a New York Red Bulls fan, rivals with NYCFC. Great Union win, 2-1. Drove past many a time Lincoln Financial Field, which Buffalo Bills associates will become very familiar with come November. I'd actually really like to get back out there for that game because that is going to be, I would have to argue, probably it has the potential for one of the best regular season games of the year in the league.
Yeah.
And the Bills only play the Eagles every 4 seasons. At least that's how it's been in the past with the new additional game. Maybe we see that change. But I know the last time we, as the Buffalo Bills, unfortunately got the hats handed to them at home. I was at that game, pretty rainy, and I walked out with some not so kind Philadelphia Eagle banter. Speaking of the show name being thrown at my way, so I would love to see some possible revenge being taken there. But yeah, great time in that city. Really do like it. But we are back and ready to go.
Yeah, I actually that's actually on my birthday, that game. So maybe,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we go do a Buffalo sports banter in Philly. Who knows? That's obviously down the road, but it's a possibility. But yeah, that's gonna be a good game. I mean, it's gonna be towards the end of the season, right? It's gonna be that second half of the season. It's gonna be an exciting one. But yeah, I mean, we got a lot going on here, a lot coming up. I mean, obviously training camps in 1 week. So I mean, that's what we're going to start off with is just Bill's training camp. I mean, we got a lot of position groups that I think are very exciting and very just interesting. Well, you got the rookies coming in, you got some veterans fighting for spots. I mean, it's a lot going on. It's really is a crazy time during training camp in the preseason because you'll see things you don't expect. You'll hear things you don't expect. I mean, last year we had Jordan Phillips and Josh Allen getting into a brawl. I mean, I don't know how many fans remember that one, but I remember that one crazy. Everybody thought, oh, there we go, another problem. But I mean, it's just this team is passionate, so maybe we'll see another brawl again. Hopefully, it's if there is a brawl, it's nothing bad. It's kind of like last year's where it's like it's just football, right? Football gets people going. But yeah, we got the training camp coming up. I'm going to be at least at one of the days, I believe next Friday. Yes, next Friday, the 28th. I will be there. Um, Hunter, are you going to be going to any of them?
I actually am slated to be at day one with a program I'm with, associated with the Buffalo Broadcasters Association. It's kind of like a uh, summer program. Some people are students, some are just people in the media industry like myself. And so we should be getting some great content. So I'd hope to maybe even share some footage that I get with that program. Maybe we'll be able to bring it back here. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and so there you go. And let us know, guys, if you guys are going to either of those days, 26th to 28th, if you guys are there and you see us there, give us a little hey, go Bills, can even come up and ask us what we're thinking, whatever. We love to talk, with fellow Bills Mafia, with just fellow people that are just passionate about Buffalo sports in general. So check us out if you see us there. Obviously, there's also the game the 4th, August 4th, which is the return of the Blue Red game, which is always a fun time. I mean, it's over at the stadium, over at Highmark Stadium there. So that'll be a fun one. That one's at 5:30. The other practices start at 9:45, except for the one on August 6th. That's 11:45. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. I mean, going out there, it's just a different atmosphere when you go to St. John Fisher. You just feel the excitement. You feel just. And not even from the fans, just the players. You can tell the players are just ready to get back on the field, even though it's a tough time of the year for them. A lot of them are getting back to that tip top shape. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not in shape getting there, but they're getting to that season. They're getting ready for the season. They're getting ready, but it's going to be an exciting one. I do have a question though. I'm going to start it off with this one. I talked about the position groups a little bit. A lot of them, right? There's linebacker, receiver, running back, guard, go down, cornerback, down the line. There's just guys. This whole roster is full of guys that could very easily take over spots, take over that backup spot, take over even the starting spot. So, what position group are you just most excited to see about, hear about, and just watch at training camp?
That's really a great question. I would probably have to go on the defensive side, and I think it would be likely between one of three really: cornerbacks, safeties, or linebackers. And you know what? I'll single out linebackers. We obviously had a large departure with Tremaine Edmonds heading out to the Monsters of the Midway there in Chicago, and so that opens up a spot that will be taken. There's a handful of candidates that I would probably argue: Dorian Williams out of Tulane, Balin Spector, as well as maybe even Terrell Bernard. So I think what I'm curious to see is who is going to step up for an open role. A lot of choices. They all know that needs to be filled. Who's going to be that new most well-known MLB on the team? So I'm really interested to see who claims that spot and works the hardest to grab it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one that I think a lot of people are excited to see just because it's going to be different for the first time in 5 years. For the past 5 years, it's been, you got Milano, you got Jermaine Edmonds, and it's kind of like, oh, who's the third one? But people didn't really care too much, about that third one. But now, yeah, like you said, you got that middle linebacker spot wide open. I mean, Milano, I know people want him to try to move there. He's an outside linebacker. I think that's just what he is. But he's a monster, and it'll make things easier. And I actually got a chance to talk to. I was over at the Labatt House for 716 Day, and I actually got a chance. Some of the Bills rookies were there. I actually got a chance to talk to Dorian Williams a little bit about just learning from Milano and taking over the pressure of that Edmonds spot. And he was a guy I was excited about coming out of the draft. He flies across the football field, and you can already tell that he's just got that maturity that I got to work for it still. There's a lot of work to do, but he even said it's learning from Matt Milano is just something that's great. It's something that you can really build off of, and coming in as a rookie makes your life easier. So yeah, that's one position I'm excited to see, that linebacker position. I'm gonna go on the other side of the ball. I'm gonna go with the receivers, honestly. Like, and there's even on the offensive side of the ball. You named a couple positions on the defensive side of the ball. That's exciting to see. But offensive side of the ball, you got guard. That could be a competition there with Ryan Bates, Torrance. I'm gonna guess McGovern just because of the money. He's gonna be starting there at either left or right guard. But I mean, it's going to be a fun one there. And you even got running back that you can even talk about, right? James Cook should be running back one, but I'm going receiver. It's the reason it's interesting to me is you know who the number one is. Obviously, Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis coming in at number two. I expect him to start the season as a wide receiver number two, but if he has a season where he's still catching 50% of the balls, that's going to be a little bit of an issue. And that's where I could see maybe a guy like Trent Sherfield stepping up a little bit. But that's not even the one I'm most excited to see. I'm excited to see if Khalil Shakir can take another step, because that's going to be a big question. People are very excited about him. And I'm really excited to see Deontay Hardy in the Bills uniform. I mean, he's, again, not the biggest guy in the world, not the strongest, but man, does he move well on a football field. I mean, he's got that twitch ability, that fast, fast twitch that just stands out. Haven't been able to see him a lot in game, just due to injuries, off the field issues, everything like that. But he's just a guy that I'm really, really excited to see. So what do you think about just even that position, the wide receiver position?
Yeah, I had some notes marked down there. The one name that you didn't mention that I also would be curious to see where he fits in. I think he would be able to crack the roster, especially now that there's another target that is moving back to the AFC into the same division that he was already in. Not a Buffalo Bill. That's, of course, DeAndre Hopkins to the Titans. So where does Justin Shorter fit into the mix? I would say, would you say that he does have there's a spot available? It's a realistic chance.
I mean, that's a tough one to me, because the other reason why I say that I'm going to say that he does, but the main reason being, he's not like any of the other receivers the Bills have. He's a big, strong guy that's, going to be, and you can say Gabe Davis is kind of like that, but he's really not. Like, you haven't seen even this guy in a while, since maybe Kelvin Benjamin, a guy like that. Kelvin Benjamin, hopefully he's a little bit better than Kelvin Benjamin in a Buffalo Bills uniform, but That's really how I could see him being one of those guys that just stands out because he's a different style of receiver. So that's another guy that I am, yeah, Justin Shorter. I'm very excited to see. Um, I mean,
I was gonna say one more thing as well. The like you asked me a question, and I fired back another question back at you. My what I'm curious about is how will Trent Sherfield and Deontay Hardy separate themselves from one another? Because I think to the average eye, they are very similar. So I'm wondering how they will differentiate from one another. I'm very
yeah,
curious to see.
I think for them, especially Sherfield, the main thing with him is Hardy. I think you'll mostly see slot. I don't think you'll ever see him lined up outside. That's not his game. Where Sherfield, like I was kind of saying with Gabe, if Gabe starts off slow, doesn't really have the greatest start to the season, Sherfield could be a guy that you see lined up outside and you could see potentially taking snaps from him. Now, do I expect it? I would say the earliest I'd expect it is week 6, 7, or 8. Like I would see them giving a lot of time to Gabe, even maybe even later than that, to show that he can be that number two. But Sherfield, yeah, Sherfield, I think it's hard because I think he's out of everybody on in the roster for the receivers, he's the one that's on the outside looking in. It's unfortunate, but I think that's where it is because, like you said, there's Shorter, who's a different type of receiver. Who's a rookie. Do they want to? They'd probably want to keep a rookie. Sherfield doesn't have a lot of money tied up into him. Deontay Hardy, signed a bigger contract than most this offseason, so I don't think he would be at all even on that hot seat. So Sherfield's the one that I think most excited to see just because I want to see how he fits in this offense. Um, where Deontay Hardy, I feel like, is going to take that Isaiah McKenzie role that, along with maybe Shakir taking a couple snaps from him. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's just that's the main difference for me with Sherfield is that he can line up outside, which again, I'm saying that kind of making him the outside looking in. That for all I know, that could actually make him stand out more because he's more versatile. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, this whole wide receiver group. I mean, what do you think is going to be the surprise for wide receivers in this camp?
That's a really good question. I would probably say, uh, I feel like we have a chance to see Justin Shorter really stand out and maybe really claim that spot, claim a roster spot. Personally, it's funny. He kind of reminds me of when Davis was drafted. Uh, UCF in Florida, pretty well known schools. Florida, maybe the Gators, maybe a little bit more well known. Same state, of course. Similar rounds. Was there? They both third rounders.
I actually believe that Shorter was fifth,
Was he the
if I'm
fifth?
not
Okay.
mistaken. I think
Um, so I think the potential is there for him to kind of impress Bills fans and associates like Davis did in that year one. That's just how I see it. Maybe it turns out differently. And then, like I said too, I'm very curious to see how, like, I don't want to be a dead horse, but how Sherfield and Hardy will separate from each other, differentiate from each other, because to me at least, they seem like slightly similar player types like that McKenzie role. It would seem like Hardy would fill in a little bit better than that than Sherfield might, but that's what I would say I'm looking forward to for that positional group.
Yeah, and I want to say with the Gabe Davis and Shorter, that's actually a very good comparison. Also, because of the fact that both of their draft classes were very good receiver wise. I mean, Shorter. I mean, you look at down the line. This was a huge receiver draft. Even Gabe Davis is. That's why he slid. A lot of people thought that he would be. He could have been a higher draft pick, but that draft class was loaded. So, wide receiver group. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, that's one thing that I know that, like you said, we'll be keeping an eye on. But I want to talk about a little bit about the rookies. We obviously are just talking about Shorter, so there's a little bit with Shorter there. Talked a little bit about Dorian Williams, trying to fight for that linebacker spot. But we got Dalton Kincaid still. That's not even that's the first round pick, right? And the second round pick too, Osiris Torrance. It really is. There's a lot of rookies I'm excited to see this draft. I mean, or not this draft, this training camp. Which one are you most excited for? Whether it's Kincaid or Torrance or Williams, or even if it is Shorter, because it does. I mean, it seems like Shorter is the guy that you're really gonna just really look out for. I mean, he's a big guy. He's gonna be pretty easy to spot out there. But which receiver is just really gets you going when you're thinking about camp?
For rookies, I would, as much as I like Shorter, I was all in on Osiris Torrance. I thought he might be scooped up in the first round, but the fact that the Bills got him in the second round, I was really psyched and impressed to see that. So I'm all in for Osiris Torrance. I mean, that stat stands out. Never gave up a sack in collegiate football, and that's two different teams. So he had to kind of maybe learn two different offensive blocking schemes. I believe it was the Louisiana Raging Cajuns as well as the Florida Gators. So that is really impressive to me.
Yeah, Torrance is another guy that I ended up getting a chance to talk to a little bit, and the thing that was interesting to me is he said he didn't really have like a guy that he loved watching when he was older, and the guy that was kind of one that he tried to model his game after, which he kind of mentioned was it does a little bit make the game a little bit easier to learn because you're not just looking at one or two guys or just one style of play. So he's one guy that I a lot of people had him going to the Bills in the first round, and then to get him in the second round is huge. And now you have him potentially penciling in at that right guard position. So I'm excited to see Torrance. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna go with the obvious guy. I think Dalton Kincaid is the one I want to see. I mean, the Bills didn't do too much on the offensive side of the ball when it came to weapons. Yes, they went out and got a lot of guys, but they didn't get, like you said, they didn't get a DeAndre Hopkins. They didn't get, an Odell Beckham Jr. They didn't get a big time name. They went with shorter in the draft. They went with Sherfield and Deontay Hardy, but Kincaid is the one that you're hearing a lot of. Yeah, he's going to be a tight end, but no, he's going to be more so a big slot. And the one thing with me that stands out to him that I'm really looking to see is you saw it in his college tapes. He's able to find the open field, open area against zone or anything. I'm excited to see if that transfers over a little bit into the NFL, because that's one thing that I think, especially being a rookie tight end, it's a huge jump. You don't see a lot of these guys come out of the gates just firing. So Kincaid's the one for me I'm excited to see. What do you think of Kincaid just going with Allen? I mean, some people are saying he's a 6'4" Cole Beasley, 6'3" maybe, but he's just a big version of Cole Beasley. So what do you think of Kincaid?
Yeah, I've become very excited. I know immediately I didn't love it because I thought that it was not required or necessary, as Dawson Knox is a fine tight end as a starter. But now, based on what I've read and what I've seen, I think, I mean, could you say it? There's a legitimate chance they'll be battling for the starting position, or is it still kind of Knox's, or they might run both at the same time? So a lot of questions at that front. But yeah, I'm very excited to see him work, as he was very productive at Utah. And after considering it a little bit more, I think he fits very well into the offense. And so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, and you just brought up Dawson Knox. I think that's going to be. That's another. I'm curious to see how they use those two, because I mean, Knox has a pretty sizable contract, right? It seems like they want to use him for the future. It seems like for the past few years they've been trying to get that second tight end to pair with Knox. So I'm excited to see how they use him. I think you could see a little bit more Knox off the line of scrimmage, right? I think you could see him out a little wider, maybe not outside, but maybe a little more slot, just to see him and Kincaid switch it up. So yeah, Kincaid, another guy. I mean, this whole rookie class is just exciting. But before we move on to a little bit of Sabres talk, I got one more question for you. And this is one that maybe people don't start asking till middle of training camp, end of training camp, end of preseason. But I want to see, before we see anybody on the football field, before we see training camp, who's one player, or even two if you have them, a surprise cut candidate, a guy that you may not necessarily think is going to get cut, but a guy that you could say is on the hot seat and could potentially be cut?
I'll go one for both sides of the ball, each side of the ball. On the offense, I think right as we signed him, like right as the Bills signed him, I thought that that's a household name, I would argue, but I just don't know if there's going to be room. And it was one of the most recent signings offensively, and that's Latavius Murray. I just don't know if there's going to be room. The only way I see it is if you can maybe designate Nyheim Hines as like strictly special teams. But even then, I just don't know if that still leaves enough room. So I think he'll really have to impress in camp. That might require him to overtake the likes of Damian Harris. So I think at first glance you would give a roster spot to over Murray. We'll see what transpires. I think Cook is likely safe as well. Then on the defensive side, it's a player that stands out for an unfortunate play last season. Probably one of the best catches of last season that went against him, and that's Cam Lewis. I also don't know if there's just enough space for him on the roster. I know there are some new acquisitions at his position. Some notable ones like Taylor Rapp, also Cameron Dantzler. So I just don't know if Dantzler might actually be more of a cornerback, but I just for who is on the roster, just don't know if Cam Lewis is safe yet again.
Yeah, I mean, those are two positions that, like you said, it's really going to be a dogfight to try to get out of there. I mean, you're hearing even people saying, "Oh, is Naheem Hines safe?" I mean, I think he's safe by a mile. I don't think there's a chance that he gets cut, especially due to the fact that they traded for him. They didn't. It's not like they just signed him. I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the ball, and I'll give two as well. I'm going to go with Boogie Basham. I think you could see as a surprise cut, just because of how deep that defensive line is now. I mean, it's especially interior. Boogie, you're not going to see him play interior. You're going to see him more outside. But even then, I mean, you go down the line, they got guys just ready to go. And I was going to say Shaq Lawson, but I just think that his play against the run is too valuable, and his ability to play the run is too valuable. So I'm going to go Boogie Basham as one. And the other one, I'm going to go Saran Neal. I know that he's a guy that at least Bills fans know pretty well, right? They know him. He's been around for a while. I just don't know if there's a spot for him, especially like you said with this secondary, with bringing in Taylor Rapp, and now is our special teams that important still? I don't really know, especially when you are a team that Tyler Bass is going to kick the ball out of the end zone 9 times out of 10. Maybe not 9, but a lot of times he's going to kick it out of the end zone. And then they rarely punt. And Saran Neal has a pretty sizable contract for being a mostly special teamer. So I could see him potentially being cut as well a long time. Maybe not a long time, but been a Bill for a while. And then I'm just going to throw out one more name that kind of like what you said with cornerbacks. I could see, I don't see it happening. I'm going to say Dane Jackson could potentially. I doubt it, but just because of bringing in even a rookie that we didn't even talk about, Alex Austin, right? 6th rounder, I believe 6th rounder from Oregon State. I also could be wrong there, but I think it's Oregon State. He's another guy that maybe he takes a spot. No, I don't think so. I think Dane Jackson's safe. But yeah, there's a lot of questions up and down this lineup. I think you're going to see some surprise cuts. It's just a matter of who throughout camp impresses who throughout the preseason. But yeah, I mean, what do you think just about those guys, mostly Basham and Saran Neal? Do you think that there's a shot that they're not on the team come week 1 against the Jets?
I would say possibly more likely Saran Neal. If out of those two, I know he's the one guy that always sticks out to me that you see is hustling down on kickoffs. But like you said, there might not be if that's his main priority on the field, there might not be a need for that when it's compared with other necessities, as Bass often does create touchbacks. So I'm sure, and I know that he provides in other departments, but I just with the cramp at the position, he was going to have to maybe do a little bit more work in the offseason to prove himself than he has in the past. I think Boogie Basham will be okay, although certainly a great candidate to bring up in this type of conversation.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think Saran, there's definitely more likely that Saran would get cut. And even more so with Saran, it's like he hasn't obviously been the greatest player when he's on the actual defensive side of the ball. Special teams, he's phenomenal. But you've seen the Bills make mistakes before, not keeping these younger guys, over keeping a guy like Saran Neal, most notably Isaiah Hodgins. Would they want to do that again? And maybe, I mean, what are they gonna send Shorter to the practice squad and risk having another Isaiah Hodgins situation happen? I would be very shocked if Bean does the same thing twice like that. But we'll see. Buffalo Bills training camp starts next week, 1 week from today, from when we're recording this. You guys aren't hearing this 1 week from training camp, but a lot that's going to happen. You'll hear us next week talking mostly Bills next week, but I want to move into a little bit of Sabres. Still pretty early in the offseason. Still a lot can happen, but they have made some moves, and moves that fans before even the free agency started said needed to be made. So before I ask your question, here's the notable signings, re-signings, and who the Sabres have lost. Notable signings. There's really only two notable signings, and it's Eric Johnson and Connor Clifton. I mean, 1 year deal, $3.25 million for Eric Johnson, coming over from Colorado. Guy who's won a Stanley Cup before, a little bit older. Don't expect him really to play too many minutes, probably a third line guy more likely. And Connor Clifton coming over from Boston. I love that we're stealing a guy from Boston. 3 years, $3.33 million each year. So about a little under 10 million. But yeah, he's another guy. He could maybe play that second line, maybe play that third. We'll see what they're thinking. There's a lot of different combinations they can go with defensively there. But two defensemen, something that everybody really wanted. Re-signings. Zemgus Girgenson's back on a 1 year deal. Tyson Jost back on a 1 year deal. Cal Clegg back on a 1 year deal. Lucas Rusak, is on it back on a 2 year deal. Linus Weisbach, probably more of just a Rochester guy this year. He's going back down, and same with Brett Murray. He's going back down on a 2-way contract. Now, who they lost? Loris Pilute. That one kind of hurts, but also it's okay, in my opinion. Malcolm Subban, love the guy, but it's just Buffalo, too much of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Too much going on in the goalie room. Too much going on. There's too many questions. I just think it's better for him. He actually signed with the St. Louis Blues. Pilot went to Switzerland for, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that team name. And then Vinny Hinostroza didn't play too much last year, but he did sign a 1 year contract with the Pittsburgh Penguins. So there's a lot that Sabres we could talk about, a lot of things that can go on. So I'm going to just bring it up quick. I'm going to go over the defensemen. Those were the two biggest moves for them so far. Which one was your favorite? And do you think they did enough on the defensive side to make you confident going into this season? Or do you think there's just a little more that they should do? Maybe even a trade deadline thing that they should do? But how confident are you in this defense now?
Well, to start with the second question, I'm still looking for one more player, but with these signings, I just don't know if it's someone that they're going to go after. I was really, really, really hoping for Matt Dumba out of Minnesota. I thought he was going to be a great fit. We already have a former teammate in Jordan Greenway. I thought he would have been a great addition. So I suppose there's still a chance, but the Sabres did just sign two other defensemen. So is there room? Is that now still a priority to get him again or as well? Not sure. With who the Sabres did bring in, I like the name recognition, at least, of Eric Johnson. I know he's been productive with St. Louis and Colorado. My question is, how much gas is still in the tank? As someone in their later 30s, it maybe because of the first name, but also just because of the style of the signing and starting the next season, I immediately thought of Eric Stahl's first game as a Sabre. That was the first year post-COVID with the kind of the different divisions. And he made a terrible play in front of the net against the Capitals that may have actually been the Capitals' game-winning goal. Not a lot of things went right for the Sabres, so that wasn't – you don't have to harp on that, but just an older player who is towards the end of his career, still playing now, still in Florida. But I would just hate to see a sloppy play like that made. Again, I don't know if that's attributed to his age or just something in the moment, but I will say a defenseman I would think is less likely to make a play like that than maybe someone on the offensive side of the puck. So I really like the name at least. We'll see what he can do. It seems like he's really happy to be here. And then Connor Clifton, I'm really thrilled about that one with more of the youth movement there. I believe I saw a stat that I don't want to screw this stat up, but it may have been that he had more hits personally either last year or in a certain span of his career than the Sabres did at all this past season. So I am a huge fan of that because I think that the Sabres need to adopt a little bit more of a bully mentality. I think that it started to head in the right direction, but I'm still ready to see some more some more grit on the ice there, and I think that's a great signing. And the fact that it comes from a division rival, absolutely love that. Deplete within, always a fan of seeing that. Then a re-signing, actually, was really thrilled to see Tyson Jost come back. I think he was. I'm just still surprised that that's a name that was picked up off of waivers.
Yeah.
Not an off-season signing or a trade deadline acquisition, waivers last season. So I'm really happy to see him back. And then the one other one that did stick out because he's been here before, I don't really love him. I get it's to replace Malcolm Subban. I hope that we don't have to see him in Buffalo. That would probably only be because of an injury, so hopefully we don't see that. It's Dustin Tokarski. He did kind of at times get on my nerves a little bit when he was here. Again, I'm sure I could look further into it. Not always the goaltender's fault when scorers kind of go up against you, but hopefully we won't have a need for him here in Buffalo. But we'll see. He is back. At least he's familiar with the system. So yeah, that's kind of the big four there that I would point out from the Sabres. Losing wise, Pilot, like you said, more of a Rochester mainstay. Now overseas. Somebody like Hinostroza was good for a couple of goals. I don't think that's too detrimental. And then, a lot of the one thing that did stick out, though, was I didn't mention a lot of them, but a ton of re-signings for mainly Rochester guys. I saw that there was some conversation about that on Twitter. Some liked it, some didn't. Some said that shouldn't have been a main focus. Others, I mean, I'm sure the Amerks fans specifically really like it. So yeah, that's what I would kind of use as a review of the Sabres offseason, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we might not be done. We'll see.
Yeah, no, real quick on Tokarski, I don't think many people were happy with Tokarski in Buffalo. But yeah, he's got 3 goalies in front of him right now, at least at this point, with Comrie, Luukkonen, and Levi. But I mean, the crazy part with like you said with the defense is where does everybody fit? Because right now, you have the projected lineup right now is Samuelson, Dahlin, Power, Clifton, Lyubushkin, and Eric Johnson. That's 6 right there. And then you'll probably have one more extra, but you have Yoki Haru, you have Stillman, right, who you made a move for last year. You have Bryson, and then you even have Ryan Johnson, who I don't expect to be up this year, but he's another young guy that could potentially, if somebody goes down, could potentially step up. But I do see 2 of those guys getting moved, most notably Yoki Haru and Bryson. I just don't see where they fit anymore. I think Lyubushkin has earned that at least spot right now to be that 6th defenseman. Stillman, I think, has earned that spot to be at least the 7th defenseman, to be that guy off the bench. So defense, like you said, it's now, did they make the greatest moves ever? I mean, it's not the greatest defensive moves ever, but they're solid. And now I'm looking at it as what is the plan defensively, because like you said, there's so many. It's real, and even on the forward side, there's so many. I mean, that's why even seeing Jost come back. Once I saw Okposo and Gergensons re-signed, I thought there was not a chance Jost was coming back. And they're all back. I mean, I get Okposo. They want to probably get him to 1,000 games. That makes sense. Gergensen, another guy I was very shocked about. I mean, he's been in Buffalo a long time. A lot of fans love him, but I was just shocked because does he fit the timeline anymore? But he wants to be here. He wants to be part of it. But I mean, forward-wise, again, here's the projected lineups with Jack Quinn out, and we'll get to that in a second. Jeff Skinner, Tage Thompson, Alex Tuch, first line, easy. Peterka, Cousins would be Jack Quinn, but right now Victor Olofsson is projected to be slotted in there. Then you got Greenway, Middlestead, Rousek, Gergensons, Krebs, Okposo, and so that leaves Kulich, Jost, and Savoy on the bench. That it's just down the line, and I'm just gonna say it real quick. I don't care if they make a big move right now. You can wait it out. Everybody wants because we have so many assets. They're like, let's make a move. Don't force it. I like that they're waiting. I like that they're saying, we have this great prospect pool. We have this great roster right now. Let's see what we have. I know I just kind of went on a little spiel there, but it's just there's so much going on with this roster when you look up and down on it, and I like what they've done in free agency so far. I'm so back and forth on the whole goalie situation, on if they should do a Levi Comrie or Levi UPL. I'm leaning more Levi UPL right now. But they're really like just down the line. I don't know what this roster is going to look like day one. I mean, the main guys, right? The Tage and Peterka and all them. but you don't know who's going to be that fourth line, who's going to be on the third line. And defensively, you don't know who's going to be Powers pairing official. You're probably going to guess Clifton. That's what I'd guess too. But even third line, you don't know. It's such a question, and there's just a lot going on with this team. So, with that said, I brought up the Quinn injury a little bit. He's going to be out for the first few months of the season. It really sucks, right? Because everybody was very excited. I was excited to see him, especially that line again, that Paterka, Cousins, and Quinn line. There's been some talk about Victor Olofsson potentially now staying because of that. I personally still think he's going to get moved because I think, like I said, there's just so many like guys that you can fill in that spot. I would personally love to see Casey Middlestead take over that role as the second line, either center and move Cousins to the wing, or just put Cousins on the wing there, take Quinn's spot. What do you think of just now the forwards with Olofsson? Do you think they should still move him? Do you think they should now wait to maybe get that value up a little bit at the trade deadline? What do you want to see with this forward group with Jack Quinn missing the first few months?
Yeah, like you said, I think it's important not to force it. Like I had said, it would be spectacular to get Matt Dumba, but that many could say that would be forcing it if you tried to acquire him. And the same thing goes for the other side of the puck there on the offensive side. I think with Quinn unavailable now for 4 to 6 months, I think you should take a look at Olofsson and see, well, maybe it would be not a terrible decision to keep him around for a little bit. And that's another good point. Let that value possibly go up. Maybe make him more attractive when Quinn becomes healthy. Or maybe somehow, I know a lot of people don't see this happening. Maybe he finds a way to become productive again and can solidify a spot on the roster for the long haul. So I think it's important not to make hasty moves, such as what it would be with those two players.
Yeah, and with Olofsson, he's such a weird player to me because he can score. He can score. I mean, that's the one thing he can do is score, but it's not much else he can do. Personally, I know I brought up just waiting, but I personally would still move him now. And I would rather see Kulich play, maybe not the second line, but give Kulich minutes or give Rusak minutes or Savoy, or just keep it with Phil and Jost in there and then figure out who the 12th is going to be between Kulich, Savoy, and Rusak. I would like to kind of see these young guys get a little bit more playing time. I think we've seen Victor Olofsson reach what he's been able to reach. I mean, he put up what? Did he put up 30 last year? I'm actually going to look this up. I think he might have put up 30 goals last year, but I think it was like 10 assists. Like, again, he doesn't do much else besides put the puck in the back of the net. And the Sabres have plenty of goal scorers, right? He put up 28 goals last year. But it seemed like it was always at the worst time. It was when the game didn't matter. It's when nobody cared. But when the game did matter and the games, all of them mattered, he disappeared, it seemed like. So, Olofsson, I'm not going to be one of those fans that thinks that, or one of those people that think that Olofsson's horrible. I mean, he's not. He's not a horrible hockey player. But when you look at this roster, I just think you can do better, and I think that you can at least see more and get something out of him for a team that is looking for some more goal scoring. So it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do there. But yeah, it's going to be crazy. Last question for the Sabres, though, before we get into our history. It's about the goalie situation. We talked about it a little bit, I believe, about a month ago. Talked about it a little bit. Devin Levi, Eric Comrie, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Again, there's talk about maybe being 3 goalies the whole season again. I personally don't want to see that. Don't give me 3 goalies again. I don't even think the goalies want to see that, right? I think they were kind of sick of it. They really just want to see their 2 guys. I think it will be UPL and Levi. I kind of want it to be UPL and Levi. And as much as I love Eric Comrie, he's a fun guy. He's a great guy. I mean, every interview you see, he's just like, you're like, can that guy be any nicer? But I want to see the young guys. Worst comes to worst, UPL send them down. I want to see Levi get in there, and I want to see UPL at least play. Maybe you can use UPL's 2-way contract for one more year to your advantage. But Comrie, that's the other tough part, is once you bring him up, I would bet that he would get snagged on waivers if you sent him back down. So maybe he's a guy, though, that you play for half the year and build up some value and then bring UPL up. Who knows? But what do you think about the goalie situation? What do you want to see? I know we may have answered this a couple weeks ago, but who knows? Maybe our answers have changed. So what do you want to see goalie-wise?
No, I would fully agree. I'd like the tandem to be, if it's going to be in-house, have it be Levi at the first starting spot, and then followed by UPL. I think Comrie, let him maybe give him another chance elsewhere. He kind of reminds me of an Aaron Dell situation, kind of that vet that actually does still spend time in Rochester. But I think that it would be beneficial to all to work with two or NHL rostered. So, and like I just said, out of the food is on the roster now, give it to the young guys. Not opposed to acquiring one. Again, wouldn't want it forced or rushed. But for what is in front of the team, definitely go with the youth for out of the three.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions, right? There's a lot of things that can happen. They might not even be done. Who knows? There's still guys out there. There's some rumors. Maybe Thomas Tatar can take over a spot for a little bit with Quinn being down. But again, like we just said, down the line, forwards, defense, goal. It's just like a log jam everywhere right now. And it's like, do you really want to send Savoy back to the CHL? I believe, yeah, CHL.
With Winnipeg, right?
Yeah. Do you want to put Coolidge back down there in Rochester? Do you want to put Rousek down there in Rochester? I mean, there's just so many questions, and it's just I think you'll see still some moves. I think you'll see at least maybe not Olofsson move, but you'll definitely see maybe a Yoki Haru and Bryson move. It doesn't make sense to have them still on the roster, and when you traded for Stillman and Labushkin played pretty well to me in my opinion. So there's a lot of things that can happen, a lot of things still to happen. I mean, we only got what, a couple months left until the preseason starts. But yeah, we'll see what happens. A lot of Sabres stuff to go, but let's get into our history. This is the way we're going to do it now. We kind of have found, I think, what we kind of like doing. Hunter's got his HLC's day in history. Everybody knows how much I get excited for those ones. I love them because they're things I would, half the time they come out of your mouth, I'm like, I can't even believe what I heard. Last week, I know you weren't here, Hunter, but everybody here saw I did 5 questions with Jarrett Bailey. We're still going to do that with guests, but I'm going to ask one question to Hunter per week, a history question, see if he can get it right. See if you guys can get it right. This week, it's one of those ones I kind of described it to Hunter as it could be hard, but you could see him looking after it afterwards and being like, I should have had that one, or getting it in 2 seconds. I can see that happening as well. But before I do that, I'm going to actually plug in my laptop because it's getting low. But we'll start off with my question, then we'll do your day in history. So here's the question. Let me know when you're ready. And if you need a hint, I can always give you a hint as well. But whenever you're ready, are you ready for the question?
Fire away.
All right, so we obviously have Dalton Kincaid coming in this year, rookie tight end. We've had rookie tight ends come in, Quentin Morris, right? We've had a couple others. But 2019 was when Dawson Knox rookie year was, right? Can you name the 2 other tight ends that made the opening day roster of that 2019 season? I'll give you the hint. I have 2 hints, but I'll give you the one right now that doesn't give too much away. Neither are on the Bills anymore. Can you name them? If you need a hint, let me know. I can give you their current teams and who they were drafted by.
So I believe I got it right off the bat.
All right.
So I'll go for all the marbles. If I get one wrong and I'm out, I'm willing to risk it all. So I believe that it's a big age difference between the 2 of them. The one we'll go with, if I'm correct, my former neighbor Lee Smith.
Oh, actually, maybe there's 3. Give me a second because maybe he's not listed as a tight end. I know that they have him listed weird. That actually, there could be 3. So let me just look.
Okay.
Lee Smith, he actually, I believe, was on this team. Yes, he was. He's listed as a receiver for some reason.
Okay.
So there's 3. So you got 1. So there, even a bonus point for Hunter. There it is. But yeah, so that's 1. So there's 1. Technically, all 3 of them are not on the team anymore. So there's 1. Can you name the other 2?
Other one I'm going to go with, I believe, if my memory serves me correct, that classic Bills to Giants path, Tommy Sweeney.
Tommy Sweeney, yep, there's 2.
And then if I had to nail the third, gonna give this some thought here.
If you'd like a hint, just let me know. I can give you the team he was drafted by and the team he's on now.
I'll use my hint privilege here.
Okay, do you want both or do you want just who he's on now or who he's drafted by?
Let's go with current. Who is he on now?
He's currently on the Miami Dolphins. Signed in about he signed in about May.
Ah, yes, actually, that's my other former neighbor, Tyler Croft.
Yep. You're fully correct. I thought that was the one that I thought could trip you up because he wasn't drafted by the Bills. Tommy Sweeney, I knew that you were big. You were kind of a not huge Tommy Sweeney guy, but you like Tommy Sweeney, right?
I
I
like
thought.
the BC guys, Boston
Yeah.
College, nice Northeast school.
But I still can't believe it. You're even shocking me again. You ended up getting one that I didn't even have, but I can't believe. By the way, if anybody is listening to this and knows anybody that works for Pro Football Reference, a lot of people use Pro Football Reference. I use it all the time. It's a great site. But why on earth is Lee Smith listed as a receiver? I've seen him listed as other things like long snapper, offensive line. That I get. He is and Lee Smith, if you're also listening to this, we love you, but I'm sorry, you are not a receiver at all. You were a tight end. So that one was wild to me. I also did not know he went to Marshall in Tennessee. Fun fact. Just reading this now, and he was drafted. Do you know who he was drafted by?
Ooh, well, I know he's also been a Raider and a Falcon, but I don't believe those were either of his draft teams. If I had to shoot out a draft team,
I guess the second question I got for you, but
well, can I confirm it's not the Raiders or the Falcons?
no, it's not that. It's neither of them. He was
Okay.
drafted in the 5th round in 2011.
Oh boy. Lee Smith. This is just going to be a shot in the dark, but I'm going to have to say Carolina.
No, it was the New England Patriots
Wow.
drafted
Okay.
him.
Was actually not aware of that. All right.
I was not aware of that either. It's another fun fact, I guess, another history thing. But yes, there is the question. We're gonna give it to you. I think because of the fact that you got. We'll do a little tally. I'll do a little tally of how many questions. 1 out of 1. You're 1 for 1 so far. I mean, just bringing the Lee Smith out of there. I can't believe I didn't even think about that because Lee Smith. He actually ended up one time starting for me in fantasy because I think it was just one random week where I was like, oh, whatever. And he ended up getting me like 14 points because he scored a touchdown and whatever. So shout out Lee Smith. You're a legend. I don't know if he's retired right now. I believe he is retired.
If I'm not mistaken, I think he runs a training gym back in a southern state that is either Tennessee or Georgia, I believe.
Yeah, but he's retired though, correct? I believe
Yes.
he's retired.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, there's my question. Let us know down below if you guys got it right or if any of those names shocked you. But let me know. Let us know down below. Hunter, it's your time now. It's your HLC's a day in history. I got to get a graphic for this whatever you want to call it, this segment. What do you got for us today?
All right. So today, I'm gonna have two. In fact, I literally just opened this great book. I still read paper books, believe it or not, in 2023. That is not going to be one Buffalo related and one not Buffalo related. So we'll start it off with the non-Buffalo related, perhaps. So this is a book from ESPN. They did kind of one of the most notable sporting events to take place in all 365 days of the year. I'm not sure if kind of classic coffee table book, but I thought this was cool to mention. So July 19th, that's what today is, 1996. We're going back to the Atlanta Olympics. And today was the day that Muhammad Ali lit the torch, lit the flame at the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games in Atlanta. I just think that's pretty neat to see. I know he passed away. What is it? What are we looking at now? Was it somewhere in the vicinity of 5-6 years ago, I believe?
I'll look it up real quick. Well, you can go on, and I'll give you it in a second.
Okay, but yes, I think that's just really neat to see. I'm going to read a quick quote here just to kind of show the gravity that Muhammad Ali held. So, President Bill Clinton, who had officially opened the games, put his hands on the shoulders of the greatest and evoked the emotions behind the roar of the crowd. They didn't tell me who would light the flame, but when I saw it was you, I cried. That's our nation's leader. Just let that be known. President Bill Clinton saying those words about the greatest himself, Muhammad Ali. So I think that's pretty neat. That happened today. Thought I'd bring it up.
Yes, and it was 2016, so it was a little over 7 years ago. And you said 1996, correct?
Yes.
Just weird thing. I looked up how long ago that was. Just like how many days. It was 9,696 days ago, which just kind of weird because I just thought it was 9696. And it happened in 1996. So just thought it was a little. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Interesting
But
stuff.
or no, that actually. Sorry. It's been 9,696 days since December 31st of 1996. So I don't even know what. Just go. You go. Keep going. Keep going.
So that will wrap up that. Thought I would bring it up. Nice little Summer Olympics history there. But back to the hometown of Buffalo. So you know where I'm going now. Shout out the State and Buffalo Sports History at Buff Sports HSTRY on Twitter. On this day in 1883. So it's going to be a long time ago, but an even amount of years to look at. I'm not going to get into the math as I'd like to read this, but viewers, feel free to, listeners. Dan Browthers, I believe you'd say, of the Buffalo Bisons goes 6 for 6, while both Hardy Richardson and Jack Rao homered. Now, homered is a possible term of speech here that could be differentiated by others, because after that comes, in quotes or in parentheses, sort of homered. The ball went into the high grass on both occasions, and the right fielder could not find it. So it was almost the one instance where before the pitch clock came in, time plays into baseball, as the right fielder was not able to find it, and around the bases he goes, and that's a home run. The Bisons defeat the Philadelphia Quakers in this game 25-5. So I thought that was a nice little piece to show how far we've come with technology or updates in baseball, that usually a home run now means out of the ballpark, and not that I can't see it.
Yeah, that's so 190 years ago. They couldn't even find a baseball after you hit it. That is awesome. That is hilarious. I love that. Both of them are great. I mean, Muhammad Ali, you can't really top Muhammad Ali. I mean, he's top 10 greatest athlete of all time. Arguable that he's even higher than that to some people. Greatest boxer of all time, in my opinion. I mean, there's some guys you can have in there, but wow, that second one is just hilarious. They couldn't find the ball. That is unbelievable. I mean, can you imagine? Just picture this. And I know it's just like a random thing. Imagine you're that right fielder, and you got your girl in the stands over there. You're having a good time. You're playing some baseball, and you can't find the ball. Like, I would be so embarrassed. Like, I just random thought, I would be so embarrassed if I was that guy. I wish we knew which player it was, and I wish we could still interview him. I mean, that's unbelievable. That's hilarious. So another absolute banger of a HLC's day in history. I mean, you got anything else before we wrap it up? But that's just amazing.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a nice balance. One with one of the nation's most notable figures, and then we'll follow it up with a bit of a comedy show here in Buffalo with Sorry Eyes running around the bases he goes.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're running 50 minutes. I think everybody, let us know what you guys think. If you guys like the shorter 30-minute ones, if you guys like the 50-minute ones. We've kind of been up and down there a little bit, but I mean, this was a fun one, man. I mean, this was one of my favorite ones I think we've done so far. Just not even the HLC's day in history. But just the whole episode is a great show. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, Bills talk, Sabres talk, a little bit of everything. Next week's exciting too with training camp. And we will also let you guys know in the future if we are going to plan something maybe in Philly. I mean, who knows? Maybe what we're doing here, who knows? But yeah, fun one again. Thanks for everybody tuning in. If you haven't, please like, comment, subscribe. It really helps everybody, not just us two, but everybody at Built in Buffalo. I mean, it just helps us, grow and help us just interact with you guys when you guys are commenting. Personally, I know you too, same with you, Hunter. I love interacting with everybody, whether it's Twitter, YouTube, anywhere. We really appreciate you guys listening. Go check out the other channels on Built in Buffalo with Lance, with Peter, with Matt and with Izzy, everybody. I mean, down the line, you got great shows, great live shows. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in.
I'd actually like to chime in. Let's give it a shout out for my co-host for getting to interview Dalton Kincaid, among some other players. That's a really cool gig that you were able to do. I watched the video. That's pretty awesome. Had to give you credit for giving the best wing spot as the first choice, 911 Tavern out on Bloomfield. So I'm really happy to see that. So yeah, congratulations on being able to do that. That's a really special gig there.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, it was my first ever interview was Dalton Kincaid. I know that there's some mic issues there. That's why even the other ones with, like I said, Williams and Torrance weren't able to be put up. Those were actually, I believe, the only three rookies that were there. I don't remember seeing any of the other rookies there. But there were some Sabres alumni. I did get to speak to Jason Pominville a little bit, Marty Baron, who shout out Marty Baron. That dude can talk. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. It's just every interview for me was about 3 minutes. His was about 10 because he just, he loves to just get into it, tell stories. So shout out Marty Baron, shout out Jason Poundville as well. Great guys. I'll be probably sharing some clips of those interviews as well, because I don't believe those ones had rough audio at all. But yeah, Dalton Kincaid, first ever interview. I mean, it's hopefully goes down as a good one. But yeah, appreciate that. Appreciate everybody for supporting that and everything. And we'll definitely, both of us probably will have some more throughout the season, throughout just everything. But yeah, it's a fun one again. You got anything else before we hop off?
Yeah, I don't think so. Looking forward to 1 week from today. The next campaign starts out in Rochester, and we'll see what transpires. I'm looking forward to being there, and we'll go from there. Let's see what happens on this next journey.
Yeah, so that's gonna do it for us. Remember, if you see us there at training camp, come up, say hi. I want to, I want to put some faces to some of these names that are always, I want to see some of you guys. Same with, if you see us, come say hi. I know a lot of Built in Buffalo will be there as well. So yeah, excited for training camp, excited for everything. That's gonna do it for us, though. For Buffalo Sports Banter, for Hunter, for HLC, I'm Ben Shoop. Thanks for tuning in. Buffalo sports fans, Buffalonians. We'll see you next time.